Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Season 3 of On the Road With, a show where we talk to touring professionals from the entertainment and performing arts industries. My name's Gareth and I'll be your host. If you'd like to catch up on Seasons 1 and 2 of the show, you can do via your preferred podcast provider. You can also keep in touch with us on social media as well. It's Gareth John Music on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And all the episodes are also available on YouTube as well, on my YouTube channel of the same name. You can also listen to all of the commercially available music that's been played on the show, choices of my guests and myself, on the On the Road With Featured Songs playlist on Spotify. Now, I've been trying to get a lot more polymath artists, so multidisciplined artists on here as of late. I had a couple on last season, and I'm delighted to welcome today a stand-up comedian and singer, equally talented in both. She's also part of a great sister singing duo as well, and has got a long history and an interesting story in the game. It's Miss Lauren Bird. Lauren, thanks for doing this.
No problem, thanks for having me.
No worries at all. I wanted to get sort of more people who are multidisciplined artists on here. So I've spoken to a few people that do more than one thing. And I remember reading something that Tony Bennett, one of my favourite singers, said, is that because he's a painter as well, quite a prolific painter. And he was saying if you have more than one kind of creative outlet, you're never going to get burnt out because you've always got something else you can turn your hand to. Was that part of the decision for you to go into the comedy route as well as being a singer? Or was it not as deep as that?
Yeah, I would say I'm like as deep thinking about it as deeply as Tony Bennett, especially when it comes to comedy. But yeah, I think if you start doing music like you and I do, you sort of start trying to turn your hand to anything that you can really, or anything that interests you. You know, especially if you do music at a professional level, you have to have your fingers in so many different pies to try and make it work. Yeah. As much as you can. So I think for me I think comedy started out as a little bit of my outlet, because I would I'd go and watch music gigs, and I love still watching bands, and I love going to live music. Mm-hmm. But there's still, I can't really switch off.
I know what you mean. Yeah, but busman's holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a part of my brain thinking about something that gets a bit too technical, whether it's about the sound and whether that's good or bad, you know, or would I do it differently, or what do I think of that, or what do I think of that player, or whatever. So it's never kind of a release. There's always a part of you that feels a little bit like you're working in a way. So I started going to comedy, and then that was my real release. And then the more and more I went, the more and more I'd sort of go, like in the back of my head, there's always, I reckon I could do that. And I was prolific. Like there were, at one point, I think there was about 4 regular comedy nights that would go on in Leicester. So they'd all be monthly, but it was basically you could go once a week if you liked.
Basically one a week, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that was me. That was me out all the time, seeing as much comedy as I could. And that voice just kept getting a bit louder and a bit louder and a bit louder, until I finally thought, I'm going to have to do this. And it was one of those things I just kept saying to people, almost like trying to get their approval, people who know me. I think I might try and do a bit of stand-up comedy and see if they thought it was the most ridiculous idea ever. And when I was sort of getting fairly positive responses of, yeah, of course you should, like, just give it a go, I thought, yeah, maybe I will.
Well, I tried that one with my wife, and I didn't get such a positive response, but but that's another story. But yeah, I've done the same thing of not with comedy per se, but actually I did do it with comedy with you. I said to you when we were was it at the comedy gig at the Shed, or was it at Clem's birthday? I can't remember.
I think it was at Clem's birthday.
I think it was, yeah. And I said, yeah, it's something I've thought about doing, but you know, seeing you guys do it, because I came down to one of your gigs, seeing you guys do it the other week, and I thought, not sure. And it was you that said, no, you've got to rip the Band-Aid off and just go for it. And
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
That's definitely the attitude with pursuing anything new in the creative arena.
Oh, for sure. Like you can ruminate on it and you can think on it like over and over again. But I mean, it's the thing of, I think I've been doing music so long, I've been gigging so long in that way, that music now just doesn't have any, I mean, sometimes I get a little bit worried, of course, like depending on, I get a little bit nervous, but it's a different kind of nerves. But but the idea of doing comedy before I did it, I mean, still now a little bit, you know, the idea of doing it would absolutely churn my stomach. It would make me feel so nervous, and I think, oh, why do I want to bring that onto myself? But then it's also such an amazing challenge to just, like, still go through that. And as well, at the same time, because I'd seen so much comedy and because I'd gotten so many contacts in the world, that was almost a part that I felt went against me when I started.
Right. Okay.
Because I thought to myself, I really don't want to do this for the first time in a room full of people that I know.
Yeah, well, that's daunting. I mean, it's better to have a room full of strangers, really. I mean, it's the same when you first go and start singing, isn't it? And you think, oh, I don't, you know, and that old thing of your mate saying, oh, give us a song, and you think that's the most petrifying thing, is doing it in front of people I know. But room full of strangers, my nerves, I don't know about you, but my nerves are very, very little doing that.
Yeah, and
you know,
people can't understand that, can they? They think that you're going to be so much more comforted in a room full of people that you know. And my argument to that is, I have to see them again.
Yeah,
I have to look them in the eye.
Yeah, true, yeah.
I have to try and weed out if they're going, yeah, that was good, and then turning there, you know, not giving me enough eye contact, where I'm thinking, oh, they don't really think that.
Yeah.
They don't think it was good.
They're being polite, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that struck me when I came down to your gig at the Shed, I was with a fellow comedian and former guest on this podcast, Taryn, and he, one thing I was saying to him, I've known him really, really long time, and one thing I was saying to him was, I watched like you guys doing it up there, and I think you were doing kind of 5 to 10 minute spots.
Yeah.
And even that though, 10 minutes, I thought, I bet the most I ever talk for between the song is a minute. And I like to keep it that way because I do hate it when singers talk too much in between songs. And especially when you're in that atmosphere where everyone's there to dance, you know. It can it's one thing that really grates on me, so I try not to do that myself. But then I saw you guys do it, and I thought, I bet that when you first start off, that feels like the longest 10 minutes. And also as a singer, you've got the advantage of, especially like now, I've worked with the drummer I work with, Dave. I've worked with him for a long time, and it's happened more times than I care to remember, when I've made some sort of joke and it's not really gone down very well, and people look at me like, what are you on about, mate? And I can just turn to him and go, yeah, let's go. And he goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're into the next song. Yeah. So, and you don't have that as a comedian. You don't have that escape. Equally, you've just done a great 10 minutes. You know, I'm getting into this now, but that's it. Your time's done. It's quite strict, isn't it, on those nights? And there's a big, from talking to Taryn, he was saying there's a big kind of respect thing in the comedy world where you don't go over your slot, you don't milk it. You know, if you're not the headliner, then you know your place and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's, you know, I mean, to be fair, I think if you gig for any length of time, you know, I think you can definitely outstay your welcome. And I think we all know that, and we've all seen that happen, whether that's music, comedy, or whatever. Yeah. And I think hopefully if you gain a bit, or if you've got a little bit of self-awareness, you sort of recognise that. But yeah, those sort of nights, so that's it, you know, it's the open mic sort of stuff. You get booked onto it. Although actually that night in particular, that night at the Shed, I'd just been in town doing a little bit of work, and then I thought, oh, the gig's on at the Shed, and I was going to go and ask Lewis, the guy who was emceeing that night, if I could have a gig at a later date, because I'd gigged with him somewhere else. So I just popped along thinking that'll be, you know, be a bit better in person. He'll have to stare me in the eye and tell me no, or he'll have to give me a gig. So when I went there, he said, oh, someone's dropped out, so do you want to jump on? So I just sort of thought, go on then. May as well. Well,
the more you can get under your belt as well in that, especially in that game. I've always been a big believer of it in music as well, but especially in that game, I always draw everything to basketball analogies because that's what the sport I grew up playing. But it was, I remember the best coaches I had always said that we can play against each other in training as much as we like, and we can get in good shape, and we can know the game really well. But we'll only know if we're a good team once we're out against other teams. And it's a little bit like that in the performance world. You do only know when you're actually in front of an audience.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the adrenaline, it's having to see people's reactions, it's trying to respond to something on the fly. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's really interesting is that there's been a lot of sort of bedroom musicians who have... Oh, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And they're able to record, and they're able to make something sound beautiful. and not doing anyone down at all in the slightest. But I think it really does show that when you actually get out there and gig, there is that level that is, if you're a band that has been together for years and years, and you've gigged together as opposed to sat in a practice room or
recording or whatever,
or recording, exactly. Then it's that almost language that you have to have between, you were saying with you and Dave, you have to have a shorthand, or you have to be able to look at people and they almost know what you're thinking. I remember we went to go and see Gregory Porter at the ICC in Birmingham. Just brilliant. Absolutely outstanding. And I mean, he's one of my favourite singers anyway.
Yeah, me too. We had tickets to see him in July, but something put paid to that. We'll get onto that in a bit.
But yeah, and it was amazing. He brought his band with him from New York, and they were talking about, pre him being as well known as he is, they'd all been gigging together for years, and you could just see it. There was almost this invisible sort of line between them all. And that's another thing I love about going to watch people, is if they are in that kind of situation, if they have been gigging together for so many years, you can, and if you're sort of aware of it, you can just see it. And they were so tight, they were so on it. Each player, they all knew their parts, I think is also a big part of it. They all knew. So the keys player isn't treading all over the bass player, and guitarist has got his own licks that he's putting in that isn't stepping on what the keys player is doing, and it just weaves in, and it's just like magic really to me. Never mind Gregory's voice and his note choices as well, where he goes when he's riffing. Yeah, oh my god,
it's unbelievable.
It's insane.
And the other thing that people say, I remember a singer that I was working with. I was playing trumpet in his band, and he's got quite a low voice. And we were listening on the radio. Marvin Gaye came on, I think, and he said, "Oh, I wish I could sing up there like that." He said, "But I guess not all great singers go up there like that. Take Gregory Porter." And I thought, yeah, he has got a deep, rich, lyrical baritone voice, but he can really get up there when he wants to.
Absolutely.
As well, you hear some of the little bits he does live, not so much on the records, but live, because I watch YouTube stuff and that, and he can really, just out of the blue, you think, where did that come from? You don't expect that out of him. You expect that deep richness kind of all the time.
Yeah. Oh no, he's got the range, darling. Yeah, he
absolutely has.
No, he really does. It's amazing.
And the magic that you just kind of referred to, and the kind of synergy that comes after a lot of years. That's something that I noticed when we played at Clem's birthday, because that's the only time we've ever shared a stage, I think.
Yeah.
And I noticed that between you and your sister Sarah. I remember at the start of the gig, the sound was really impeccable. Andy did a great job on that, and it was a nice change actually, because normally those sort of pubs, it's not the best sometimes.
Oh, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
But Andy, because I always find when the sound's being done by a professional musician who wants good sound themselves, and that's an advantage to the sound being done by somebody on stage if they can multitask. And he did a great job. But there was one, I think it was just Sarah hadn't turned a radio mic on or something, and her mic wasn't working, and so you started singing the first song, and I had my clip-on mic on my trumpet, and I can't resist. If I hear a singer singing, and I know there should be harmony, I can't remember what the song was now, but I know there should be harmony, I have to dive in. And I kind of put my clip-on mic from my trumpet to my mouth and started singing. And Clem and Tony were thinking that I was trying to take over. Went, no, leave them to sing. And I went, yeah, but Sarah's not singing yet, is she? And that's the harmony that she would do. Like that. Yeah. And then lo and behold, next chorus, Sarah's in, and that was the harmony she did. And it was like the kind of, I could see you guys just lock in harmony-wise all night, even though range-wise, are you that different, that similar?
I've got a lower voice than she has, but I can still. I think she would agree with this, is that I've got a bit of a bigger range than she has, because I can go lower, but I can still reach the higher notes that she can as well. But she has a bit more clarity in her top end of her range than I do.
Right.
But I get all the male songs in the band, basically.
Right. Right. Okay.
And we're doing anything by a man. Just shove it to the one with the boy's haircut anyway. She can have it.
Are you both kind of trained singers together, or was it something you came to later, or was it
Not
that
at all.
go through vocal coaching and all that, or not really?
No, I think I think we've both had maybe a handful of singing lessons in our life, and that was sort of our music teacher at school. She sort of put us forward for that. But no, our mum and dad were, I mean, they were a club turn in the working men's clubs from when I was about 5 years old.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, so kind of born into it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, they just sort of, they had this duo that they'd go out in, and then it sort of it got more and more serious, more and more gigs they were doing. So then they, I mean, I think I was probably about 10 or 11, they became a tribute act, because that was all the rage. Stars in Their Eyes era, that was all the rage there.
That kind, yeah, that kind of full costumes and everything.
Oh my God, all of it. So they started doing they were a Tina Turner and Cher tribute act. Well, my mum was, and then my dad was the guitarist, and they just did it to MIDI tracks and backing tracks, with my dad doing the guitar over the MIDI tracks. And then they sort of were moving out of Clubland, and starting to get more corporate gigs, and then they were interacting with more tribute acts and seeing that people had bands, and then they sort of thought, well, maybe we should they started working with a sax player. I think they actually Tony Luby worked with them.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he was telling me. Yeah, he was telling me on that night where, you know, when we all played together. Yeah,
so and Paul Martin as well. I don't know if you know him, sax player.
I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of weddings. Tony, you know, knew me as like a little 9-10-year-old girl, you know, me and Sarah. And then basically I think because it was just always around, you know, we were always chomping at the bit to sort of get involved, and they said they wanted to expand the band, and Sarah went, well, what can I do? And they were like, well, I don't know, what do you want to do? So your dad's on guitar, and she was like, well, picked up the bass, and within a few months she was gigging with them. She just picked it up really quickly. And then I was feeling all left out at home. So I was like, what can I do? And they said, well, we'll probably need a drummer. I went, right.
Oh, are you a drummer then? I did not know that. Sort of a drummer by trade sort of thing.
Well, that was my first proper gig, really. I'd always sang. And so within a couple of years then I was drumming in the band. So it was the four of us were going out, me on drums, Sarah on bass, my dad on guitar, and mum as the singer.
Oh wow.
And then sometimes, because it was fairly difficult to sort of have you can't really have two sets of Tina Turner, like there's just not enough material that people know. There's definitely enough material, but not enough that people actually know. And of Cher as well. So sometimes if there were two sets required, my mum would put us both forward as being like, well, these girls can sing, so they can do your little backing track set. So got you.
So you did the warm up kind of thing, or support, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
If it was needed, but I tell you, you know, gigging in those days with gigging versus gigging now, the amount of times we just have to do an hour set, and then that was us done.
Oh yeah. It doesn't happen nowadays, does it?
Oh my God. That's for halcyon days, that is.
And I remember when I first started in Johnny and the Good Time Boys, and they were the although they're a young band, not so much now, but they were, you know, were still fairly young really. But when we first started off, it was always 2 hours straight through, no break, and it's 2 1-hour sets is like okay. But then 2 hours straight through, especially as a brass player, where there was no songs that didn't require brass, even songs that didn't have brass on the record, that there had to be brass in them.
Right.
And so it was quite a killer on the chops. Good training for me though, because then I went to do a half-hour, 40-minute set of tough playing, you know, big band stuff, whatever, and it was a walk in the park, because I've been doing all these soul things every week. And for a young band, they had that old school attitude of like the working men's club thing, of kind of doing longer sets. So it's interesting you say that it was just an hour and done, because my experience of, like, in inverted commas, the working men's club thing was that it was quite a lot longer than that actually.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of, by the time I joined the band, like my mum and dad have been going for a good few years as their setup. So yeah. I got the lovely thing. We used to do this was this is through my GCSEs, through my A levels, through my first year at uni. All of this happened. That our bread and butter was the Chicago Rock cafes and the Brannigans.
Yeah. Right, okay,
on a Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah. I kind of caught a very, very, very tail end of it. I did a few of them, but not like, it weren't a regular fixture for me. But I do know what you mean.
I mean, that was so that was sort of Wednesday or Thursday, and then you'd always be booked out on the Friday and Saturday. It'd be the hotels, or very few weddings we did, because obviously, you've got to be a diehard Tina Turner or Cher fan to book that for your wedding. It's not really a sort of party band thing that we do now, kind of thing. But yeah, it would be I think we did. I mean, bizarrely, we did an Elvis convention once. And then it's like all the holiday parks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was, by the time I joined, the working men's clubs had sort of faded out a little bit of what we were doing, apart from the ones that could afford us and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, RAF bases, all of that kind of thing. Like, I spent my teenage years up and down the country.
So quick question on that then. Because they're portrayed. I'm not trying to put you in the generation of older musicians I'm talking about, by the way, because I know you did it when you were young. Those places, when you were sort of teenage, like you've just said, GCSEs and that. But a lot of the guys that I work with currently, who are kind of late 50s, early 60s, I guess, talk about those RAF based days, Chicago rock cafes, working men's clubs as real glory days. Were they actually?
I mean, it's really interesting to try and have that perspective now. I mean, I'm 31 now, and this was all happening, when I was sort of 15, 16, 17,
so you've
18.
Got a different outlook, haven't you, at that age?
Well, and also, yeah, because as well, I just sort of, I was just sort of plomped into the middle of it, not really knowing what it was that I had, especially now as I look back. But it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing like that. I would definitely say that was a glory days, looking back from what it's like now in comparison to them, where, I mean, absolutely amazing to get a bread and butter gig Wednesday, Thursday that paid for a full band, and
that's quite rare.
Yeah, for sure, and there'd be a big crowd of it, and you could, sometimes in the good months, you could basically have every single Wednesday booked up in your month and a couple of Thursdays with these gigs, and people would turn out, and people would come and watch you and know that, oh, Chicago Rock will go down there tonight because they've got the tribute band on.
So I wonder what's changed then from that weekday going out thing. The only experience I've had of weekday gigs that have been well attended and profitable are on the continent or at a push in London, like the occasional Thursday night I've done in London, with different things. But it's only really a Thursday. I can't remember the last time I did. I mean, even when the South went on tour, and we've tried it two ways, and we now stick with the weekend warrior way, we call it, which is, Thursday through to Sunday, and you do that for a lot of weeks on the trot, and then you have a break. And but we used to do it in a kind of 2.5 or 3 week block, where you would gig, you gig in Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. You do 3 nights on, 1 off, basically.
Yeah.
And even those weren't brilliantly attended. You go back to the same place on a Friday or Saturday, sold out. There's the obvious reason of, it's a school night, people got work next day, blah, blah, blah. But the big names do it. People go to gigs. Me and Amy have been to see, Tony Bennett, Justin Timberlake, Tower of Power, loads of different people on weeknights. And they don't struggle selling those. So I wonder why the medium tier and lower tier of gigs is just that. I think it's really kind of dried up.
Yeah, I would without a doubt agree with you. I think when we went to go and see Gregory Porter, that was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and that
ours was a Monday. We were meant to be, yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if it is so the type of people who are maybe going to see the sort of medium to lower. I don't know if there is like an idea of cash, so expendable money that people have now. So if you're in that kind of bracket where that's the kind of gig that you would afford and go and see, maybe you wait and save it up to go and do it on a weekend, as opposed to going midweek. People are conscious that, they have got work in the morning and all that sort of stuff, and they've got to focus their energy on that. I don't know. It's a real shame. And it's one of those things where you can, or maybe as well, because people have so many different outlets for entertainment these days with
Well,
the
that's
amount
true.
you can stay in,
Yeah.
and you can watch that. And I don't know as well if the because of that, I mean, I say this from a person who I find it really difficult going to the really big arena gigs. I am much more of a theatre.
Yeah, same here.
Or I want to hear that snare drum. I want that bass drum to be smacking. I want to feel it in my chest, and I want it to feel nice.
Yeah.
And I don't want someone screaming in my ear the wrong lyrics, and do you know what I mean?
And everybody with their phones out and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
for sure. And also as well, if I'm at one of those gigs and it's probably cost me 50 quid just to get up in the in the nosebleeds, and I'm just watching the screen anyway, then I sort of feel, oh well, I may as well just be at home watching it on the screen. But I don't know if people feel differently than that, and they feel the opposite, in that they'd rather not spend a lot of money to go and watch something that's smaller and a bit more intimate. They want that big sort of festival arena.
Yeah,
that makes them feel...
that kind of production as well. I think people see a 50 quid a ticket or whatever it is, and they see the value in the, not even necessarily the singer or whoever it is. They see the value in the flashing lights and the audio visual and everything, which you can only do to a certain degree in theatres, and a lot of theatre shows can't afford to do it.
Yeah.
So while we ponder that, we're going to play your first song, which is A Case of You by Joni Mitchell. So talk to us about the reason behind choosing this one for the show.
Oh God. So I mean, my sort of getting into music and sort of discovering my own tastes, I sort of had this real obsession with buying movie soundtracks, which I feel like so many people, so many musicians will probably kill me for.
I wouldn't. No, I'm with you on that. I love the kind of cinematic stuff. I've got a story about that one in a minute. I'll tell you in a minute. Yeah, go on, carry on.
But well, so this Joni Mitchell song, it's from when I first heard it, it was from a film called Practical Magic, which has Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock in. That I absolutely loved it when I was a kid. I still love it now, to be honest. It's proper sort of nostalgic little thing for me. It's about two sisters, and one's redhead and one's brunette. I don't know why I had such an affinity for it, but it's all, and then they have aunts, and all of the sisters in it, or one's redhead and one's brunette. So it really spoke to me on that level, because that's basically my family.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Of course it is. Yeah.
And it's all about this sisterly connection. And then basically one of them drives all night to go, because she knows that the other isn't feeling well. So she drives all night to go and see her, and this song just plays over the top of it. So it's got this thing for me of, first of all, hearing this song immediately as a child, and just it really sort of connecting with me emotionally, of having this relationship that I do with my sister, and then these two people on screen had this relationship, and I just loved the song. And it's also as well, Joni Mitchell, I think, I mean, I suppose like folk music probably splits quite a lot of people in terms of enjoying it or not. And Joni Mitchell isn't usually the type of singer that I would listen to, but I just think as well, with her range in this track, and the way that she puts together a song, and the fact that she even like, I think they call it, like, she has the Joni key. She used to tune her guitar in a certain way, which you've spoken about Andy, like he would be absolutely shaking his head at me for saying that I like it. But I just think it goes all in together with this track. It's, it's acoustic, and I think as well, Joni's one of those people for me. There are a couple of artists who speak to me so lyrically, and she's definitely one of those for me. It's all very, at first listen, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially if you're taking it very literally, but there's just so much poetry in there. And I think it's one of those songs for me that the first time I heard it, I think I realised how you can really connect emotionally to music. And it's one of those songs now, I've got it on a couple of playlists, and I never skip it.
Well,
I
that's a
always
sign of a
listen
good
to
song
it.
in this day and age of, and we all do it. We moan about it as musicians, but we all do it. Is
Yeah.
that the whole Spotify playlist type of thing? I've just fully embraced it now, and I'm going to give a little plug. Actually, this song will be on the On the Road with Featured Songs playlist, as are all the songs picked by my guests. So yeah, let's go for it, shall we? Let's play this one, A Case of You, Joni Mitchell.
Before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar. On the back of a cartoon coaster, in the blue TV screen light, I drew a map of Canada, oh Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. You taste so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and I would still be on my feet. Oh, I would still be on my feet. I am a lonely painter. I live in a box of paints. I'm frightened by the devil, and I'm drawn to those ones that ain't afraid. I remember that time you told me, you said, love is touching souls. Surely you touch mine, 'cause part of you pours out of me in these lines from time to time. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. You taste so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling. Still I'd be on my feet. I would still be on my feet. I met a woman, she had a mouth like yours. She knew your life, she knew your devils and your deeds, and she said, go to him, stay with him if you can, but be prepared to bleed. Oh, but you are in my blood, you're my holy wine. You're so bitter, bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling. Still I'd be on my feet. I would still be on my feet.
We're going to talk about the current situation. Before we went on air, so to speak, we were talking about the possible extension of lockdown here in Leicester, where we both are. Are you in the zone, by the way?
I am.
Yeah, it's. I remember I bumped into you on Great Central Way.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I was kind of whizzing past on my bike, but I was going to stop and say hello, and then you looked completely like chilled out in your own world. I thought, I'm not going to disturb her, sort of thing. You just walking along with your headphones on, really in a kind of dreamlike state. I thought, oh bless her, I'll just carry on. So is that sort of? I know I've spent a lot more time outdoors. I've been kind of exploring the like canal side and parks and all that kind of stuff. And have you done much of that sort of thing in lockdown? We're talking outside of music now. What's been the kind of solace for you, if you like?
Yeah, I've definitely tried to, because it's felt like sort of the only thing you can do. And then when the weather's been nice, it's felt like such a shame to not take advantage of it in that way. And I absolutely love that. So where I am in Leicester, sort of off Narber Road, you've got that lovely kind of split of. I absolutely love Narber Road. I think it's on a warm day when we're out of lockdown and when everyone's sort of outside the shops, or there are there's cafe seating outside of restaurants and all. I just love walking down it.
It's got a real European feel, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God, it feels like you could be anywhere in the world, and I love that so much. But then I also love equally, like you say, you can go down the Great Central Way, you can go down the canal, and you can almost feel that you're in the countryside. And so I love that I can have that split of sort of country and city. So I felt, whilst I've been in lockdown, I've gone a little bit more towards what feels a bit more countryside, and trying to be in the more nature spots, and trying to connect a little bit more that way. But yeah, I think out of lockdown, I usually am quite out and about in town. That's just sort of, if I feel like I have if I'm getting a bit restless, I just tend to just wander into town, and I have a coffee or
a cappuccino, or just what's your coffee of choice?
I just get a black Americano.
Oh no, I'm a cappuccino or latte man, and I love the Esquires down the bottom of New Walk, and you can just sit outside. Oh God, I miss that.
It's just so it's just so nice to do, isn't it? My place is a place called Piero's in the Lanes.
Oh yes, I know it. Yeah.
So just sit outside of that. I've got my book, or sometimes just sit and people watch, whatever. But in good weather, it's just that little bit of, again, I guess it's sort of just being able to, just sort of disconnect from anything that's going on at the moment, just sort of relax and not really think about it. Sometimes put my phone on airplane mode or whatever. Don't want to be bothered. Just want to sit there and do my thing. So I've been missing that quite a bit. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that I looked a bit in a dream world, because if I go out for a big long walk, that's sort of what I tend to try and do. I like to, put a load of music on. Yeah. That's often as well where sort of jokes or little bits of ideas will come to me.
Well, I was going to say that. Yeah, it's definitely it's given me time to kind of branch out a little bit, and I've started to treat everything as creative now, whereas I wasn't before. I was treating certain parts of my job, like the social media side and teaching and stuff, as things to a lesser extent teaching, because I do get a buzz out of that, but social media and marketing and all that, I was treating it as, I've got to do that really just to keep things going. But now I treat creating content, because I've had the time to create proper, what I think is quite decent content like this, is I actually enjoy it as a creative process, like writing a song, or like in your case, writing stand-up material. And that kind of thing. What is the writing process with stand-up material for you? Because I know every comedian kind of differs on that.
Yeah. So when I first started it, I wrote it out in sort of big monologue kind of thing, with actually full sentences, how I was going to try and say it. I didn't learn it exactly like that, but wanted to try and at least have a record of it, of how it might look were I to read it, if you like. Yeah. And then since then, I've sort of had bits that have worked and that I have tried to expand on, and tried to write a little bit more around, or sort of go, oh, that took me about a minute to get into that. Can I put in a joke before that? Yeah. yeah, also just really trying to, sometimes I'll just think of a line that I really like. It, like I say, if I'm out walking, not sometimes not trying to force it too hard, but if I'm out walking and I almost in my own head am doing like a little bit of a bit to myself, or thinking about something and trying to.
Probably what you were doing when I rode past you.
Very possibly. I wasn't laughing though, was I?
No, you weren't actually. No, you were kind of just sort of dreamily grinning is how I would describe it. And I thought, I can't do that. So I can't just talk. How are you doing then? You're right. You know, I just thought I can't. And I was kind of at my top speed of the day on my bike as well. So I thought I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
What have the outlets been for music and comedy during this? How have you kept the two passions kind of burning?
I think it's really difficult, and I totally appreciate that some people have been able to absolutely grab this time and make it into something, and I've got so much respect for that, because I think it's so hard. I think there's been for music, there's been the virtual pub,
Yes,
which we've done a couple of gigs in,
yeah, I
which
saw
has been
those.
fun.
Yeah.
It's just sort of nice to be able to. I mean, it's so weird sort of just talking to a screen and then getting a response to what you've said.
Very strange.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you finish a song and you go, oh, thank you. And you think, oh, who am I saying thank you to? And actually, you might be saying thank you to a couple of thousand people on that. There's a lot of people on that virtual pub from all over the world. And it's a great initiative. I know it's kept a lot of people going during lockdown. And, you know,
definitely
fair play to them for doing it. But yeah, I mean, I know like with the comedy, for example, Taron was telling me he started his Total Obvious Comedy YouTube channel where he does reaction videos and stuff. But I guess that, I mean, even he said it was weird, but I guess it depends what type of comedian you are as to whether those kind of outlets are going to work for you, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I think, yeah, the other thing is, so, you know, before lockdown started, I'd only been going for 6 months. I think I'd managed to get about sort of 30 odd gigs under my belt, which is fairly good going.
That's good going, yeah.
So I was really pleased with that, and I felt like I was sort of starting to gain a bit of momentum, and I was getting booked for other gigs, and sort of I was getting, you know, been booked for a 15-minute spot, and then been booked for a couple of for middle spots and all this sort of stuff. So it was
like
a
hierarchy really kind of thing where you move up in your status as to whether you're middle slot, or is that how it works, or is it a bit like bands?
For sure. It's kind of, you know, I mean, it's one of those things. I think I did say this to you at Clem's birthday. It's such an odd thing because it's you know, if you want to go out and be a musician, you do still get to perform, or you get to practice for a long time, or however long you want to before you go out and do it. And I totally agree with you that it's not quite the same being in your bedroom as it is out gigging. But with comedy, you know, you can write a set and then you can practice it or whatever, but you have absolutely no idea if it's any good until you get it out there and do it. But then I was just about to say, there's so much failure that goes along with the sort of progress of it. But I think that's probably anything creatively, anything artistic, anything at all, really. I mean, think about scientists and, you know, people who invent stuff. There's so much,
and entrepreneurs as well. You know, I mean, how many failed businesses a lot of the top businessmen have had, you know.
Absolutely. You know, you've got to go through that sort of process. So yeah, stand-up comedy is kind of, you know, it's like you pay your dues kind of thing. And also as well, at the same time, as much stage time as you can get, you're getting better, or hopefully, or trying to improve. So then, yeah, you start getting maybe little middle spots here or there, and then keep doing that, and then you might get an opener, and then you're sort of working your way up to headliner, or you know, if you were doing like a comedy club or something like that, or that would be, as a club comic, that'd be sort of where you'd do that. And then if you get noticed or get to the right sort of spaces, it would be then sort of progressing that further, or going on tour. But then that's usually when people have written a really good 1 hour show.
Yeah. That seems like quite a milestone for a comedian to get that 1 hour show together. Seems like it's like doing your first album as a singer, or, you know, that kind of thing. it's quite a big sort of goal that a lot of them have, and quite a red letter day when you're able to pull that off. You know, your first 1 hour set that goes well, in your opinion, must be a tremendous buzz.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, but
you'll get there. You'll get there.
Hopefully, once lockdown's lifted, we can gig again.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how do you think have you got a different opinion on how live music is going to look and how comedy is going to look, or do you think it's going to be much of a muchness for the arts after this?
Oh God, I think it all depends on how the audience feel, I suppose, how comfortable people are being in the same room as each other. I suppose that there's been this thing as well, isn't there, about people not being able to sing or play brass or wind instruments. So that's sort of
that was. I found that out the day after I found out about the Leicester lockdown being extended, and I thought, hang on a minute, I've been screwed all ways here.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be a brave new world. Whatever you're doing, in every single way. I don't think, this is going to be I hate to say sort of like World War II, but it's going to be like our sort of big thing that we've all collectively gone through.
Oh no, it will. Yeah, we'll definitely all tell our future generations about this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt. So it's just going to be one of those things, and life is going to change, and I think it's more about the way that you work with that, and it's more about the way that you react to that. So, I'm already seeing. With comedy, people are starting to do more outdoor gigs, or I think there's been like a drive-in comedy. So almost like
I know there's been
drive-in cinema.
I know there's been that with music. I didn't know that had happened with comedy yet.
Yeah, so I think it's amazing to see the way that people can adapt, and the way that people are still, I think if you're part of the arts, you've sort of always realised that not a lot of people want to give you the time and money. I'm talking government. Yeah,
absolutely. Or if they do, then it's way too late, and it's after a lot of people have already suffered. That's the other thing.
Exactly. But I think the thing to really take from it is that there is still need for this. It may seem like something that's very wishy-washy and not needed, but actually this is the stuff that gets people through, and this is the stuff that really helps people, no matter how you're feeling. I could want to watch something or listen to something or do something that uplifts me, or I could want to watch something or do something that sort of taps into those emotions of grief or whatever that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And if you see that played out on screen or in a song or via a bit of comedy, that it just makes you feel a bit more human. And I think that's something that we're all really struggling with at the moment, is that we're sociable beings. We want to be around each other, but I don't know if you feel the same way. Sometimes when I'm out and about now, if someone I don't want to feel like this, but I almost sort of see people and think like, oh God, how can I avoid you?
I know what you mean, yeah. Or you see somebody and you have that kind of I want to shake your hand but I don't, or I want to hug you but I don't. Yeah, I've had that a few times. Yeah, it's I
hard. Think and it's going to be responding to that, but I think there's hope for me in seeing, like I say, how people have adapted, and also hopefully maybe a little bit of recognition that this is important. Arts are important. People are saying, they're joking, oh, I've completed Netflix, but like, look at that, look at the amount of work that's gone into that, from the people who wrote it, produced it, who've acted in it, from the crew that worked on it. It's it all ties in together. That's, as we've seen, that's billions of pounds and billions of dollars, and so many jobs.
It is, and I remember hearing Emma Thompson, who's one of my favourite actresses. She was saying the other day that without the arts, we're just people who eat, sleep, and make money. And that's no, it wasn't Emma Thompson. Who was it? It was Joanna Lumley. Without the arts, we're just people who eat, sleep, and make money, and that's no way to go on. And I thought that just summed it up perfectly, really. And I know that a lot of the practitioners in the arts are quite drained with the whole online thing, the whole live stream thing. It's we all embraced it, wholeheartedly, positively back in March, and now it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's getting a bit like that,
And I think it is draining as well. You know, in a certain, I've sort of seen and read quite a lot about this, and it is like we're sharing a collective grief.
Yeah.
You know, we're almost grieving the loss of the life that we used to have, and you know, and it is like trying to be able to change and adapt in that way. It's mentally and emotionally draining. So yeah, like I say, the amount of people who've been able to create in the midst of that, I think, is absolutely unbelievable, and that only reinforces for me that there is such a strength of will amongst us, and just hopefully that can continue in whatever way this whole thing shapes our industry, really.
So we come out of lockdown in a couple of weeks, say, hopefully. And theatres start. Let's look at a best case scenario. Come out of lockdown in a couple of weeks. Theatres and venues they still exist because they haven't gone bust, hopefully, and they start to open in a month or so. What's Lauren Bird's plan with what she's doing? I don't know why I didn't just say you there and say the person. trying to be a fancy host, but you know what I'm getting at. What's your plan?
I mean, I just want to start gigging again. I miss it so much. And going
to gigs, by the sound of it, with what you were saying at the start of the interview.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like it's my social life. It's how I know people. It's how I get that bit of connection with people. And yeah, I miss my band. You know, it's there's nothing like being part of a collective like that. And I think, you know, one of our favorite places that we do as a band is the Jam House, and we should have had that gig.
Oh yeah, Birmingham. Yeah,
and we should have had that gig sort of mid-June, and I just watched it go past in the diary. Just watched it pass me by, and I just thought, oh god, I could be on stage, just, you know, I'm working, but I'm having a laugh. Yeah. And it's so, I mean, yeah, if places started to open up, and if they started booking live music, I would be at the front of the queue to put my hand up and say I'm more than happy to gig. I mean, so me and Tara have already, so Tara Sims, who is in one of my acoustic duos. So yeah, I joined her duo when her other singing partner, she went off to be a flight attendant. Right. Which, I mean, you know, I know like a lot of people in industries have suffered, but obviously then hers did as well, being a flight attendant. Yeah, of course, yeah. But, you know, Tara and I have been trying to think about, but because Tara, she had a kidney transplant a few years ago, so she's been properly shielded, so I haven't been able to get out and see her. And then we were saying like, oh, maybe we could meet up somewhere and socially distance, and because she's one of the admins for the virtual pub, we said maybe then we can go live and we can do that sort of thing, and we'll do a gig, but we'll keep outside, we'll be in a park or a car park or whatever. And then Leicester lockdown happened, and I'm in it and she's out of it, so we can't do that. And it's just, yeah, I've had a bit of that as well with even with trying it. I've had a recording project on, and the guy that I've been working with on that is out of the zone, and I'm in it, and like it's taken us best part of a week to complete. Is for someone else, like doing some brass stuff, and it's taken us best part of a week to complete, and that would have been done in a day if we could have got together. Yeah. You know, so it makes your whole work rate, along with all the kind of draining aspect of it, it makes your whole work rate slower and more inefficient as well. No, absolutely. So yeah, I'm just hoping for I just want to get out there and sing again, really. Yeah, well, no, don't blame you. I very, very much share that. And I think if nothing else, our sector is resilient. So I'm sure that will happen at some point. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lauren. It's been an absolute pleasure. Great to talk at length, because we only ever catch each other for a few minutes. So it's been nice to cover a lot of ground there. Yeah, without a doubt. Thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. No worries at all. Thank you so much for joining me for the first episode of Season 3 of On the Road With. My guest today was Miss Lauren Bird, and I'd like to sincerely thank Lauren for her time. It was great to talk to somebody who has more than one outlet in terms of performing, and a really interesting story in terms of growing up with her sister performing as well. If you like what you're hearing, please do follow, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast fix. There's a whole 2 seasons you can catch up on as well, and there's weekly episodes coming out every Sunday.
You can also keep in touch with us via social media, so it's Gareth John Music on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, or if you'd like to reach out to me directly, it's garethrdjohn@gmail.com. If you'd like to suggest any guests, any feedback on the episodes, that would be more than welcome. And talking of feedback on the episodes, if you do take 2 seconds to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be much appreciated. I'm going to play the show out now with a fantastic track, one of my joint favourites with Lauren. It's Sweet Love by Anita Baker. Take care now. Bye-bye.